What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus update and daily news report for Thursday, May 5th. So we have a lot of stuff that we need to get to because right now what's happening is our congressional leaders are pushing to see different things get done. The problem is they get stuck in the Senate. Now, this is one of the reasons why everybody looks at the Senate and our senators, mainly Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, because those are the two senators that are holding things up. But today, we are going to address how the Senate could potentially vote in a potential vote. There's still so many things that are going back and forth, but I'll address what's going on there. Going to give you a little bit of an update on stimulus because what we are seeing is the two senators, Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, that are holding things up. They're holding everything up, which includes stimulus. We're also going to talk about the U.S. Competitiveness Bill. We're also going to address our productivity decline and give you some daily news as well. So if you have any questions, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. And if you can, spend 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, and also click the subscribe button so you never miss an update. Now let's get right down to it. So for the past 10 plus months, Democrats have put together many different sets of plans. Some for additional stimulus, some to help fight, climate, others to work towards, passing more relief for COVID, and the list honestly goes on and on. But throughout all these plans, there was another plan that was also discussed, and that was to make adjustments to the filibuster, have a filibuster reform. Well, the filibuster, just to give you an idea, is the rule that requires in the Senate you must have 60 votes in order to pass. Otherwise, it's a filibuster. Now, the problem here is that it's a 50-50 split Senate. It's evenly split. Democrats are always, or have been, finding themselves falling short on every single bill because Republicans will not support their plan. And it makes sense. Republicans do not agree with it, so why would they support it? Well, it looks like the filibuster talks aren't over, and here's why. Democrats are now pushing to see Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer have a vote on codifying Roe v. Wade, especially after the Supreme Court leak earlier this week. Now, Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema say they will uphold the filibuster. So once again, Democrats will not have the votes needed to get something passed. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer still vows that he will take up a vote on this because he wants people to go on record. He wants senators to be on record to either vote for or against a specific provision. So we'll see what happens there. Now, I bring this up because there are a handful of bills that Congress could pass. But the problem is they won't have the votes unless they win more seats in the upcoming midterm elections. And Republicans know this, and Republicans, what they're going to do is block any bill that they do not have 100% support on. But here's what you need to understand. Democrats know they are going to continue to see this filibuster issue. They're going to continue to see issues regarding a budget reconciliation if they do not have more Democrats in the Senate. Well, and just to give you an idea, you may not know, but a budget reconciliation only requires a simple majority in the Senate, which means if it's a 50-50 split Senate, which it is today, the tie-breaking vote would be the vice president. That is Kamala Harris. So obviously as a Democrat, she would vote with Democrats. They would have the simple majority, 51-50. Now, the reason why most of the bills can't get passed right now, even through a budget reconciliation, there's two senators holding it up, Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. That's the reason why stimulus, climate, COVID, all these other provisions cannot pass, because really Democrats just need 2 or potentially 3 more seats in the Senate and they could get these done. This is why some are pushing to see more get done before the midterm elections, because if Democrats can win a few more seats, they could almost pass anything that they want through a budget reconciliation. But again, who knows what they'll be able to pass between now and then, because they do have to get these moderates on board, which as of right now could be a very tough task. Now, when I said Republicans are going to block any bill that they don't have 100% support on, I mean it. They've said that multiple times, and obviously they're not going to support a bill that they do not even like. Now, what does this mean? Well, there's a good chance that no bill gets passed between now and the midterm elections. Well, we're in May. The midterm elections are going to happen in November. So we could see nothing get passed until then. Well, I guess except for one bill. That's the U.S. Competitiveness Bill. And the other day, so actually on Wednesday, I believe, the Senate, they moved to begin formal legislative talks on the $52 billion bill. And according to multiple congressional aides, these negotiations could easily last for months, as there are still many differences. And the differences aren't really Republican-Democrat. The differences are in the House versus the Senate. Okay? You got to keep this in mind, that they've passed bills, but they're two different bills. They have to pass the same bill. So we'll see what happens there. Now, this is going to be pretty big for the U.S. to compete against China, but this isn't the only thing that is being worked on at this point. This is one of the bigger bills. It's going to help us with semiconductors. Okay, semiconductor manufacturing subsidies is what we're going to see here. But one of the other things that's being discussed, and it's not going to happen immediately, but the White House has plans to address nationwide hunger. Now, I bring this up because there's not a lot going on. There just isn't. Congress is slowly working on things. The White House is slowly working on things. All right, we got inflation that's trying to be handled by the Federal Reserve. But according to the White House, they say they do plan to address nationwide hunger. And they plan on doing this by hosting a special conference, most likely in September, that will be focused on ending hunger and actually improving nutrition nationwide. Now, the purpose of this special conference is to get a handle on rising prices and understand what Americans truly need. The last time a conference like this actually happened was back in 1969, and from that gathering, many policies were actually implemented, such as there was the school lunch program that was implemented. We had food stamp expansion that was implemented, and just improving nutrition labeling overall, that was implemented as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what this new conference does and how we adjust from here. But again, that could potentially be coming in September. Now, I want to talk about the big news that came out yesterday. And the big news was regarding the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve raised rates by 50 basis points. Now, that's the most they've raised rates in almost 22 years. I believe the last time they did that was in March of 2020. Now, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, he stated that there will not be any bigger rate hikes in the future. So a 75 basis point rate hike is out of the question. And that's very good news for the markets, but we could still see additional 50 basis point rate hikes. Okay, we can expect that at least. But in other good news for the markets and for our economy in general, our employment rate is likely to fall to 3.5%. Now, this is extremely low, and having most people back to work is a very good sign that our economy is doing well. The only problem is that there are now limited amounts of people that are unemployed. That means that trying to get people to go back to work will be difficult. We got over 11 million open positions. So trying to get the 3.5% of people that are unemployed back to work is going to be tough, which means the way to really entice somebody to go back to work is to actually give them a higher wage. So wage growth is going to accelerate. Now, as of right now, the Federal Reserve is attempting to do what they can to slow down growth and avoid prolonged inflation. But what you need to keep in mind is that this low of unemployment and a rising prices across the board could mean that we need to push our entire economy into a recession. And if this happens, there will be a lot of people that are not prepared for it. So that's something that I just want to warn you on. Now, one other thing that came out just today. Okay, here's something that businesses were not prepared for, and that was productivity declining. Last month, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they say that worker productivity fell at its fastest rate in almost 75 years. Worker productivity declined by 7.5%, but at the same time, okay, keep this in mind, productivity declined by 7.5%. At the exact same time, unit labor costs soared by 11.6%. Okay? And that was over the past year. Over the past first quarter. But over the past year, it actually increased by 7.2%, which makes that the biggest gain since 1982. So keep that in mind. Okay? Over the past, worker productivity declined by 7.5% the first quarter, but the product cost increased by 11.6%. That's a huge gap. That's huge. So things cost more money, but we're getting less done. Do you see why this could be an issue? It costs more money, but now we have less products. This is going to cause more inflation. And this is not something that we want to see. This is not something that is good news. Yeah, products cost more money. Wages somewhat went up, but they're not keeping up with inflation. Again, a lot of issues. But this is all part of it. This is why, according to multiple economists, Congress has to come together. They have to come together and pass something meaningful for our economy and for the American people. But they have to be strategic as to who gets what, how much they get when they get it. Because if not, and everybody gets some form of a check or some form of stimulus or tax rebate, whatever it is, it could hurt our economy even more. So that's what's being said at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on, share all latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.